these activists posted a map with the home addresses of the Supreme Court justices. Is that the kind of thing this president wants?
Look, I think the president's view is that there's a lot of passion.
What the hell kind of answer is that? Why isn't Joe Biden protecting the homes of his and America's Supreme Court? Huh? I don't get this. That's the worst thing I've heard yet. Here to weigh in, Charlie Hurt, opinion editor, Washington Times, Fox News contributor, and Mercedes Schlapp, former White House strategic comms director. I mean, honestly, Mercy, it's his Supreme Court. He's the president of the United States. He's not lifting a finger to protect them. And it does remind me, I'm not violence baiting. All I'm saying is, remember 2 summers ago, the BLM people outside the homes of that couple in St. Louis, and they were all, it's just going to be a peaceful protest, but it wasn't, was it? This is inviting the same stuff.
Yeah, I think it's very irresponsible of what Jen Psaki said in basically saying, look, yes, we can agree that it's important to have peaceful protest. It's our First Amendment right. It's different when you're going to a Supreme Court justice's home, okay? Like, they have families. Their children shouldn't have to deal with these insane activists. And quite frankly, look, on Twitter, on where I lived, and we were part of this execution list, it is very, very scary and very concerning because of the fact that you do have some of these activists who could act very much in an extreme fashion. So I think that, quite frankly, Psaki's inciting violence, even without her even knowing it, by not saying, let us not do this. This is not the way to approach this. We can have a debate. We can have a discussion. You can peacefully protest outside of the Supreme Court and other institutions, but back off and going to people's homes.
Charlie Hurt, there is, I just saw there was an announcement came across that they're getting added security. I'm not sure from whom added security, whether the White House is doing that, Secret Service, National Guard, I have no idea. All I know is that Biden has not stood up for their safety, Charlie. Psaki has not stood up for their safety. Garland, the Attorney General, has not stood up for their safety. And I find this incredible, repugnant, and irresponsible, Charlie Hurt.
Yeah, and by not standing up for their safety, they are, in fact, as Mercy says, inciting violence. They are encouraging violence. And I guess it's of little surprise to us when you look back at the 2 years before the election, the kinds of violence that these very people who are in the White House now encouraged and supported. The sitting vice president actually helped raise money to bail people out who had committed acts of violence in the streets across this country so that they could get back out and go back to committing more violence on the streets. That's who these people are. They are the true insurrectionists. They are the ones who are inciting violence, and the reason that they're doing it is because they actually are in agreement with what these protesters believe, and that says everything you need to know about Jen Psaki and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the whole lot of them. And I think you're exactly right. Obviously, without a doubt, the Supreme Court justices should have all the security that they need, and all of this should be investigated by Merrick Garland, by the Department of Justice. Any of these threats, any of these efforts to intimidate sitting Supreme Court justices should be tracked down, and those people should be prosecuted, because that is a violation of the law.
Yeah, Mercy, also look at if they think that it's going to Roe v. Wade, I don't know how this is going to end up, whether Alito's opinion is going to be passed or not. I have no idea. Me, you know me. I want save the children. Protect the life of the unborn. You're in the same camp.
Right.
I know that. God bless all. That's a key point. But you know what? The progressives have had their shot, all right? 2 years worth. Now, I know it's only May, but come election time. And they have bungled it, Mercy. And Roe v. Wade decision is not going to bail them out. Kim Strassel wrote beautifully about this in the Wall Street Journal today. We've been talking on the air all week about it on this show. The progressives had their chance. They showed their agenda. They put up their best stuff, and America's basically rejected it.
Yeah, I mean, Larry, I think at the end of the day, when you're looking at these midterm elections, this big red wave, it's clear that the economy is what's going to be the driving force. I'm here in the middle of America, in South Bend, Indiana, and even just talking to folks that are here, they're struggling with this issue of how the gas prices have gone up, how food is unaffordable. I was at a grocery store yesterday, and you could just listening to the folks, they're like, we can't afford this, we can't buy this. And so we have to remember that under President Trump, it was such a prosperous economy where people really did have greater opportunities. There was job creation. Businesses were flourishing. Yes, we were hit by the pandemic, but right now they're looking at their budget and saying, how are we going to make it? And so while I do think that this Roe v. Wade, if it's overruled, that it will, I think, get the liberal base pumped up, I just don't think it's enough to really have an impact come November, especially in these swing districts.
It's going to be, it isn't even the liberals don't want abortions past the first trimester. It's the far out, far out, progressive wing of the party, along with North Korea and China. They're all in cahoots with each other. Charlie Hurt, I'm saving the best for last. I always do. Reading today, it could have been your newspaper, I'm not sure. Anyway, Senator Mitt Romney, former Republican standard-bearer, said that if Donald Trump runs in 2024, if he wants the nomination, he will get it in the Republican Party. I've been saving this for you, Charlie Hurt, all show. Mitt Romney. Now, it's not exactly an endorsement. I just want to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, and I also don't think that an endorsement from Mitt Romney matters one way or the other. Just look at 2016. It certainly doesn't matter. But I do think that even a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then. He's right on this. I think without a doubt, if Donald Trump runs, he will get the nomination. And I also believe that if he gets the Republican nomination, he wins, and he could win very, very big.
Now, Mercy, I'm not going to ask you because I know you're going to totally agree with what Charlie just said. I know you're going to totally agree. But, Charlie, let me just ask you this. You say he's going to win totally big. What if it's, you don't, let me continue this. You don't believe Joe Biden is going to run again, do you, Charlie Hurt?
I wouldn't have said so, but when you listen to what he's been saying over the last 6 weeks, if you can actually follow him for more than one sentence, it's kind of amazing. But I'm starting to wonder if he won't actually try to do it. Whatever the case, Democrats are in a terrible situation. But I think that the biggest thing here is the past year has proven, we all know how little credibility the media has. But I think that lack of credibility is starting to really seep in to the rest of America. And if this, and I think that the next election will be like 2016. It will be back to the issues. And if it's on the issues, Donald Trump could win in a landslide.
Mercedes Schlapp, I will give you the last word, but the question's going to change. Now the question is, will Joe Biden run in 24?
Look, I think that Jill really wants him to run, Larry. And then the Democrats are looking at they're looking at their bench and saying, are you kidding me? Is Kamala our choice? Is that what we have to deal with? I think they'd prefer to keep Joe Biden in there and then have the puppet strings on him where you have these outsiders like is the Obama team, like Anita Dunn, who's now coming back into the White House to try to fix this fiasco. Look, the Democrats must be very stressed out right now because all the energy right now is shifting towards a Republican side and a strong Republican bench going not only into 2022, but into 2024.
Well, neither of you mentioned Bernie Sanders, who actually won the 2020 election. Just kidding. No, I'm not. Charlie Hurt, Mercedes Schlapp, you're both fabulous on a Friday night. Thank you, kids. Talk soon.